say that we are not the action, but actually the person is labeled upon many moments of mind and experience and past. So we don't necessarily, I mean, some of that, if we go around harming a lot of people, in a sense, in a conventional sense, that is kind of who we are as a harmful person. Of course, ultimately we can't say that, but ultimately there's no person apart from that action either. The person isn't that action, but there's no person apart from it.
Okay.
But it just seems like, well, my mind goes is like, yeah, okay, inherently I'm not any of these things, but conventionally I am a bad person.
Okay.
Because I did do these things, and they really, they really are part of who I am in the sense that they led up to where I am now.
Okay, so you're saying there's very much a sense that if I do a negative action, then I'm a bad person because those actions led up to who I am, and also because society labels us that way. And I think this is a fault in society's label. It's a collective fault that we have, you know, and that's what leads to so much judgment of people, and that's what leads just to putting people in categories and then judging them based on either their actions or even the color of their skin or their thoughts or whatever. And I think this is one of the reasons why in society we have so much bias and prejudice, you know, because we're giving incorrect labels to things that don't deserve those labels. In other words, a person who does a bad action is not a bad person, because the next moment that person can do a good action. So then does that person become a good person? Then you get really confused about who you are, because, you know, one moment I'm bad, one moment I'm good. And in looking at one action, one person will tell you that action is good and another person will tell you that action is bad. You know, the same action. And so if we're always associating our self-image with those actions, we're going to get tremendously confused, okay? And this is why I think it's so important to separate those things. Yeah, the action may be harmful. Why is it harmful? Not because it's inherently evil, but because it leads to suffering, and nobody wants suffering. Why is an action constructive or positive? Not because it's inherently positive, but because it leads to happiness and well-being, which is what we all want. Okay? So the actions can be given those different labels in relationship to the results, the desirable or undesirable results that they give. But we can't label the person, you know, as either evil or you know, beautiful, you know, good or whatever. Okay, and I think that really this is part of the conditioning that we've received since we've been little, because how do our parents discipline us? They say, you're a good boy, you're a good girl, you're a bad boy, you're a bad girl. And that is not a helpful way to give children feedback, because lots of times when you say that to a kid, the kid has no idea why their parent is saying that. They don't, you know, to the parent, oh, Johnny did this, therefore I say they're bad. But Johnny doesn't realize that the parent is upset about this action. You know, when you're a little kid, you don't know why your parents are upset. And then they tell you you're bad, and you go, well, I don't know what I did, but I must be bad. Okay? Or they tell us we're good, and again, we have no clue why. Yeah? So I think in giving kids feedback and in disciplining them, telling them bad or good is really detrimental to their own well-being, as well as being unrealistic and incorrect labeling. okay, that it's much better to say, you know, when you leave your toys all over the place and I trip on them when I'm walking, you know, I don't like it. Please clean them up, okay? And that's really what the point is. It has nothing to do with the child being bad or being good, does it? It just has to do with the toys are in the way of where people are walking. That's all. Okay? So I think, you know, when we look at other people, we have to look at the actions they're doing and describe those and evaluate those without judging the person. And similarly, when we look at the actions we do, to evaluate the actions and what the point is, but without giving those labels to ourselves. Because it's really, you know, the conventional person is not an appropriate label for good person and bad person. Yeah? Okay? So because we receive so much conditioning like this growing up, and we've internalized a lot of that conditioning and tell ourselves, I'm good and I'm bad, there's a lot of work we have to do in our meditation. And this is part of the practice when we talk about introspective awareness, you know, that mental factor, that it notices when we are giving ourselves these incorrect labels or giving other people these incorrect labels. And then we have to refocus our mind on what is actually the point, which is the action, not the purpose. Okay? So this is, you know, a process of refining our introspective awareness so that we can detect this kind of stuff as soon as it arises. Yeah? And then correct it without letting our mind get into a session of, you know, I'm such an awful person, which is really unproductive and unrealistic. Okay? Yeah? But we have to, this really has to be a main focus in our practice, is to catch these moments when we do this to ourselves or to others, because we're so habituated with it that it just kind of comes naturally like water going downhill. So we have to catch it, you know, and really say, no, it's not the person. Yeah. In fact, the person has Buddha nature. So if you're going to give any label to the person, you have to say good. You can't say bad. Right? You know? And imagine if society as a whole took this kind of view. We would live so much more harmoniously with each other, wouldn't we? Yeah? People would be given second chances when they messed up. People wouldn't get so boxed into identities and, you know, groups. We would be so much more tolerant of each other and of ourselves. Yeah? So our way to change society is we have to start with one person. Yeah? And we change the society here at the Abbey, and then slowly we start influencing more people who we come in contact with.